What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're doing well, and today we're going to be going over my TBR for PickPongathon and The Magical Readathon. So throughout the month of August I will be participating in two readathons. The first is PickPongathon, hosted by the lovely Crystal from Book Reviews. Now if you guys have been with my channel from the beginning, you will know that this readathon was the first readathon I took part in as part of my YouTube channel, and was the first TBR video I brought out. So I'm very excited to be participating in this again, as it coincides with my booktube anniversary and Crystal's birthday. So what better way to celebrate than doing a readathon? So this TBR game is based on her TBR game, which is PickPong. So I will leave the link to that down below so you guys can check it out. So basically it works like beer pong but with books. So for this one I did the random number generator version for two reasons. One, I'm a lazy bloody shot, and two, I don't really have to set up to film it myself. So that's the main two reasons why I did the random number generator. So for this one I ended up doing 6 prompts because I was hoping to combine those with the Magical Readathon, but sadly that didn't totally work out. So what I'm going to do is I'll go through what I got for PickPong first and then go into the Magical Readathon. Okay, so for the first prompt for PickPong I got number 7, which was treat yourself. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. Basically I can treat myself to any book I want, which is going to be very helpful for me leading into the second prompt, because the second one I got was number 36, which was disability rep, and I couldn't think of any books I have that actually had it. So for this one I'm going to be purchasing Get a Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, because then that will fulfill both the treat yourself prompt and the disability rep prompt as well. Okay, so for roll number 3 I got number 21, which was favourite genre, which also had a punishment on it. So the way this is going to work, because I physically did not play it and just went to the random number generator, I've decided to essentially any prompts, that have a punishment on them, I'm going to add another book, which is an actual punishment used in the game. So basically it's pretty self-explanatory. To fulfill the one prompt I need to read 2 books. So for this one being favourite genre, my favourite genre mostly is YA fantasy. So for this one I'm going to go with the Weapon, is it the Weapon? No, the Whisper Geology by Lynette Nunny. So that includes Whisper and Weapon. So if you guys don't know, these 2 books are also on my shelf destruct list for 2022. So basically I do have to make these mandatory reading, because at the end of when the 12 months are up and I go back and revisit that video, if I have not read these I do have to unhaul them. So yes. So basically the plot of this one is we're following a young girl who's essentially in I'd say it's an asylum. It's more she's in this institution where she hasn't spoken for, I think it's, how many days was it? 2 years, 6 months, 14 days. So basically she hasn't spoken for about 2 years, and one day this guy is brought in to essentially try and break it down. I have read the first one, really enjoyed it. I have not got around to the second one, which is why I've put them on the list of shelf destruct books, because I do need to read them by the end of the 12 months. Okay, so the next prompt I got was number 46, and we have another punishment. So that was Blacklist. So essentially it is, as the name suggests, pick out a book that was banned, essentially. So I'm going to go with 2 options for this. The first one I actually have with me, and that is Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'll leave a link to the article I found down below that explains why this book was banned. I think essentially it had to do with religious reasons, because of course it was. But yes, I'm very excited to pick this up, as I have never read the Lord of the Rings books before. I have seen the Peter Jackson films. The TV show, I'm not watching that. It looks like absolute shit. But I will be picking up the first book, and hopefully I enjoy this as much as I did the movies. But yes, stick with the Peter Jackson movies, not the Amazon looks shit. And I said it. Okay, and for the second book, I am going to go with The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Now, this is a book I have read before, but I thought it'd be a perfect book as it has been banned in previous years before, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to have a reread. Okay, so the next prompt I got was number 31. I seem to get numbers either ending in 6 or 1. It's weird. Anyway, so number 31, which was a 4-star on Goodreads. Now, this is probably the biggest book I have in this list. Whether I finish it or not might be a different story, depending on how boring I find this book. But we're going to go with A Breath of Snow and Ashes by Diana Gabaldon. So this is book 6 in the Outlander series, and as you can see, it's chunky. I think, how many pages is this? I think it's like 1,000. It's at least 1,410. So it's a pretty chunky beast. Thankfully, I do have the audio book for this, and hopefully I can get through this without getting bored like I did book 5, because that was an absolute slog and it was absolutely piss boring. And for the last prompt, we got number 1, which was a poll pick. So for this one, I had the choice between 1984 by George Orwell or The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Now, as you can see on the screen here, they both ended in a tie. So thankfully, like I said before, I had to pick 2 books for the banned book. So I decided to use A Handmaid's Tale for the second book for that prompt, and then I'm going to go with 1981 for the poll pick. Essentially because it's just easier to do that, and this will fulfill that prompt very well as well. And now that that's out of the way, let's get into the Magical Readathon one. So Magical Readathon is hosted by G from Book Roast, and I will leave a link down to that down below so you guys can check it out. But basically, this is like a... Would I say it's a fantasy character? It's like a role-playing character fantasy creation, if you know what I mean. I'm not good at those kind of games. I've never really done that kind of stuff before. So for my character, I decided to be a master of elements. So for this one, I do have to read 6 books. I was kind of hoping I didn't have to read as many for that, but sadly, most of the prompts... So 3 of those prompts I only have to read 1 book, and then the last one I have to read 3. So it's a pain in the ass, but here we go. Alright, so for the first one we're going to go, and that is astronomy. So this one is a letter L in the title. So again, I'm going to go with The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood for this one, because it has an L in the title, and it also fits PickPong as well. Alright, prompt number 2 was Animal Studies, and that is a book with a familiar/animal companion. Now, I can't remember whether Outlander had... I know it had a cat, but it's not really prominent in that one. So, I did have a bit of a struggle to start with. But then I remembered I have to get to Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. So this is book 3 in the Farseer trilogy. I was going to read this last year, but I didn't have exactly the best time with book 2. Hoping that picks up again with this, but yeah. As you can see, this is not a small book either. But thankfully I do have the audio for it. So in this one we're following a young guy called Fitz, who is essentially the bastard son of the king, and he's left to essentially be raised by his uncle, but of course sadly nobody really treats him with respect, and they just treat him like shit. So I know Robin Hobb has a habit of making a character, putting a character through absolute torture, but we shall see how this goes. But yes, I'm very, very excited to pick this up. Hopefully I enjoy it a lot more than I did the second book, because like I said, I really did not enjoy the second book as much as the first one. Alright, so prompt number 3 was shape-shifting, and that is to have wings on the cover. Now, I could have used Assassin's Quest for this, but unfortunately we do need to read 1 book per prompt, which is a pain in the butt. So, for this one, I have a habit of picking big books this time. It's insane. But for this one, we're going to go with Master of Sorrows by Justin Call. So this is book 1 in the... what do they call it? Is it the... what do they call it? I am really not thinking today. Okay, so this is book 1 in the Silent Gods series. I know it's going to be a very long haul series. So this one we follow a young guy called Nev, who's basically raised to believe that all magic is bad, and he's been trained to go to this academy where essentially they are tasked with hunting down magical objects and destroying them, but he's grown up being taught that magic isn't bad because it does allow him to hide an ailment that he has, because unfortunately ailments are seen as signs of evil in this world as well. So this is another chunker. I'm hoping to get through this, but we shall see. But I can access the audiobook for this as well, which is great. But I'm definitely going to have to access some audiobooks for this because, yeah, I'm not going to be able to physically read all these big-ass books in the month of August. Especially if stuff with work happens to get busier, which I have a feeling it might. But we shall see. But I'm really, really keen to pick this up. I know Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction absolutely recommends this series. So, yes, fingers crossed I enjoy it too. Okay, and for the last prompt, which was Elemental Studies, I had to pick 3 books. So, the first one is essentially to start a book with a drink. So, I can basically apply that to any of the books I've previously mentioned before. So, say I picked up Lord of the Rings, I can just start it with a drink and that would fulfill the prompt. So, pretty self-explanatory. And, yeah, I don't have to go into too much detail about what that means. Okay, so the next one was to point at a book and put the adjacent one. Now, this one, I've done a bit of a twist with this one. So, basically what I've done is I added the first books in my Shelf Destruct series that I have not got to. I've left did I put weapon in there? I can't remember. You'll see when I put my little insert up on the screen here. So basically it landed on, I can't even remember what it landed on now. But basically, whatever it landed on, I had to pick the book to one side or to the other. So for this one, as you can see here, I decided to head towards Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerry Manasalko. This is also, like I said, on my Shelf Destruct list. This is book 1. So, in this one, it's been a while since I've read this one. But basically, we're following a young girl she essentially wants to be a mortician. But, of course, being set in Victorian area, women weren't necessarily allowed to do that. So, she's been taught by her uncle to essentially become this mortician. And, essentially, they try and solve the Jack the Ripper killings. So, yes. I remember absolutely devouring this book when it first came out. I've heard that the sequels aren't that great. I'm hoping that's not the case with this, because I absolutely adored this book when I first read it. I flew through it in a day, and basically I have loved her other series as well, which was the Kingdom of the Wicked series. So hopefully that good streak continues with this book as well. Alright, and the final book was to pick a book with a sea setting. So for this one, I'm going to go with The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. This is one of the books I'm going to use for my Buzzwordathon, which was the Who. I've essentially kind of been cheating with the Buzzwordathon. Basically, if I read a book and it fits I cannot talk today. If it fits a prompt that is on that list, I will fulfill it no matter what the month is, because I just find it's easier to do that than trying to pick a book that fits the prompt every month. And I know Kayla doesn't really care, but yeah. So I'm quite excited to see this one. I think this one follows a girl who is like trying to break this curse. I don't know much about the plot, but yeah, this is such a pretty cover too. It's so cute. But yeah, hopefully I can pick that one up too. Alrighty, so when I get my fingers to it, these, holy shit, are the books, not including the ones I don't have yet, is my TBR for the month of August. It's, yeah, it's chunky. So I'm going to put that down because that's freaking heavy. Holy shit. Alright, so they're the books I'm going to read in the month of August. If you guys are reading any of these books in the month of August, let me know down in the comments below. If you'd like to join for a buddy read, I'd be more than happy to do that with you. But for now, this is where I'm going to love and leave you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I know this has been a bit of a mess, this video, but I've essentially just come back from taking a month off YouTube pretty much because I've just felt a bit burnt out. But hopefully we can hit August with a bit of a bang. So thank you for sticking around so much through this video. Like I said at the beginning, I will leave all the links to the announcements down below, as well as the channels mentioned. Thank you guys so much for watching this video again, and I shall see you guys in another video coming very soon. Bye.